If you assigned meaning to this breath by understanding that you're taking all the energy in those first three centers, how much energy does it make to create another life form? That's a lot of potential energy, yes? And instead of releasing it out, we want to draw it up into the brain. Are you with me still? Now, you have a bone down here at the base of your spine called your sacrum bone. Did you ever see it? It looks like an upside-down triangle. You got it? And on the plateau of that sacrum bone, that upside-down triangle, sits the spinal column. And those spinal vertebrae go right up into this ivory cavern called the skull. And it houses the most delicate system in the body, the central nervous system. And the central nervous system controls and coordinates all other systems in the body. It's the wires that run the machine, and here's the big storehouse of information and regulation. And all happens up here. Are you with me still? Now, inside this closed system, the brain makes fluid to bathe the brain and the spinal cord, and that fluid is called cerebrospinal fluid. Cerebrospinal fluid has some functions. It creates buoyancy for the nervous system to kind of float. It has a protective measure if there's trauma to the brain or to the skull. The fluid protects it against its bony edges and kind of slushes around in there. It serves as a transport system to bring nutrients and neurotransmitters and hormones and chemicals to different parts of the nervous system. And its very substance enhances conductivity or electrical charges in the brain, so it's really important. You got it? Now that bone down here called your sacrum bone works with your skull. When you inhale and you take a breath, that bone called your sacrum bone kind of flexes back like this. And when you inhale, the sutures of your skull open up just a little bit. And when the sutures of your skull open up and the sacrum bone flexes back, that cerebrospinal fluid drains down because there's more volume. You with me? And when you just naturally exhale, the sacrum kind of flexes forward and the sutures close, and when that happens, it closes the system, and when the sacrum flexes forward, it propagates a little wave, and it pushes the fluid up. So the mechanism of inhaling and exhaling kind of moves this cerebral spinal fluid very slowly. And it can start at the base of the spine, it can go all the way up to the brain, and there's 4 ventricles in the brain, 4 openings. It goes through all those different chambers, goes around the brain, comes back down. It takes about 12 hours for one molecule of cerebrospinal fluid to make that journey. So you flush your brain twice a day. You with me? Now, I looked this up, and if you look at cerebrospinal fluid, it's basically proteins and salts that are in solution. Now, if you take a protein molecule and you take a salt molecule and you drop it in a solution, they all of a sudden develop charges. Are you with me still? So cerebrospinal fluid has charged molecules in it. Now, what would happen if you blew all the air out of your nose all the way? When you blew all that air out of your nose, you locked down your perineum, the muscles you use to eliminate front and back, the muscles you use for intercourse. If you were to squeeze those muscles, pull your belly button to your spine, and lock your core right here and squeeze like that, if you were to do that, which way would that cerebrospinal fluid move? Up. And if you were to couple a very slow, steady breath with the intention of pulling that energy from these lower centers all the way up to that pineal gland in the back of your brain, and we'll talk about that in a second, If you could couple your breath with the contraction of these muscles, as you breathe and you squeeze, you start moving this cerebral spinal fluid up towards the brain. How many people understand? Now, engineers and scientists in this audience and physicists will tell you, if you take a charged molecule or charged molecules and you do this, when you accelerate a charged molecule, it creates an external field called an inductance field. And it moves right in a circular fashion in the direction of the movement of the charged molecules. Are you with me still? So if you moved several charged molecules all at once, that inductance field, as it moves, could literally draw energy from these centers up towards your brain. This breath is not a passive breath. This is a very engaging breath. And it takes a little passion, some presence, and the desire to want to have the experience. And it takes a little practice coordinating this one slow, steady breath with the contraction of these muscles that you use in other ways. And I'm asking you to coordinate it with the breath. And if you get a little passionate and you start doing it and you have a target, that pineal gland, one slow, steady breath.
Pull that air out of your nose all the way and hold it. Lock everything down in one slow, steady breath. Pull that energy with your muscles and that.